at WrestleMania. That's another example there for you. We have seen even history repeat itself in the Divas division over years at WrestleMania. Roddy Piper and Mr. T's feud from WrestleManias 1 and 2. I mean, I can go on and on with how many times history has repeated itself at WrestleMania. Yes, it's probably the most appropriate venue to have history repeat itself, but not as many times as what WWE have professed that history needs to repeat itself at WrestleMania. If history is supposed to be repeated, have it repeat itself at least twice, and then kill the idea of having history repeat itself. The Undertaker versus Triple H was good enough to have just one match at WrestleMania, let alone an additional two. The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin was good enough to have two matches, let alone three. And is John Cena and The Rock's feud a feud that is good enough to have three matches? Yes, the score is even between these two superstars, but is it good enough to have a third encounter with John Cena as your defending champion and The Rock as your returning challenger, which obviously would be the first time since The Rock has been in action since WrestleMania 29 when he lost the WWE title. It makes perfect sense to determine who is the definitive best out of these two iconic superstars, and I would go for it if it were to determine who was the best wrestler out of these two and who was the undisputed champion. But if, let's say, John Cena were to defeat The Rock, no, I wouldn't really go for it. If The Rock were to defeat John Cena and determine himself to be the greatest of all time, which he's already done in the minds of a lot of wrestling fans and even in the mind of myself, I would go for it more. But if this is what's going to happen, if John Cena is going to defeat The Rock, then I want to see The Undertaker face The Rock, or John Cena face The Undertaker, or Brock Lesnar face The Rock, or Dave Bautista face The Rock, or even Dave Bautista versus John Cena, which again would be history repeating itself, but at least it would be something different from what we've been subjected to for the last 4.5 years at WrestleMania. What will happen if this match happens for the third year in a row? Our low pay-per-view buy rates would be the biggest result of this match, and there will be a lot of negative conversation, not just on social media, but amongst wrestling fans in everyday conversation. People will be talking about how frustrated they are over the WrestleMania main event and how it's promoted. We know how a John Cena Rock promo looks like. We have seen it for the last 2 years. It's been teased ever since 2011. It was believed to be then a match the world wanted to see and a match that wrestling fans couldn't wait to see at WrestleMania 28, and a lot of wrestling fans believe that if John Cena were going to defeat The Rock, it should have happened the first time they wrestled at WrestleMania 28. And I am also in agreement with a lot of wrestling fans who believe that, because if John Cena were to have defeated The Rock the first time they wrestled, then it would be more meaningful for John Cena to have defeated The Rock. By having John Cena defeat The Rock at WrestleMania 29, it completely defeated the purpose of even having this match in the first place, because the win over The Rock wasn't as critical as it would have been at WrestleMania 28. The Rock came back, solidified himself as the greatest of all time, with a decisive advantage for fan support. Of course, it took place in Miami, Florida. He dominated a lot of the feud because he rock-bottomed John Cena countless times leading up to the match. He had the fans in the palm of his hand, and The Rock really couldn't afford to lose, and it was almost as if The Rock was giving it away that he was going to win. So probably those were some of the reasons why they had a second match, because of course The Rock knew that he wasn't going to be staying with WWE for the long run. WWE needed a champion, so their excuse was to have The Rock lose the championship after 70 or 75 days as champion to John Cena. The Rock hasn't been seen on television since. He's on the cover of WWE 2K14. He hasn't had a rematch since losing the WWE Championship, and he's coming back off of a major injuries. 3 hernias suffered by the John Cena Rock match in one match with The Rock, so obviously there's a lot they can hype up for. The Rock coming back off injury to win the WWE title, but the biggest issue that I have with it, really a question that I have out of all of this, is this an effective way of promoting WrestleMania 30, or having all these legends from Goldberg to Stone Cold Steve Austin possibly returning a far more effective way of promoting WrestleMania? And I think it is. Taking John Cena and The Rock into the equation for just a minute, I mean, how can you have WrestleMania 30 without The Rock or Stone Cold Steve Austin? How can you have WrestleMania without The Undertaker or Goldberg or so many legends that contributed to WrestleMania over the years? How can you have WrestleMania without Hulk Hogan, especially the 30th anniversary of WrestleMania? And I think I speak for every wrestling fan, radio host, and columnist out there that might be listening to this, that might have clicked on this on YouTube while browsing through the many videos that have recently been uploaded. I think the answer to that question is you cannot have WrestleMania without a Hulk Hogan or an Undertaker or a Rock or Stone Cold Steve Austin staple. They're staples in this business, so how can you not have a WrestleMania without those big names? Would you rather see them, or would you rather see The Rock versus John Cena for the third time at WrestleMania? I think the answer to that question is Legends would win hands down over a match that would be happening for the third year in a row at WrestleMania. It's bad enough that we're seeing a third encounter between these two superstars. To make matters worse, it would be for the third year in a row. And CM Punk is right. He's politically correct, the correct term I guess you would use when describing what CM Punk said here. CM Punk is right when he said that The Rock versus John Cena would just be deja vu, and it would be like seeing it happen all over again. Once is enough. Too many times over the years, over the last at least 21 through 25 years, of the 29 editions of WrestleManias that we have seen, history hasn't been known to repeat itself, and I think that John Cena versus The Rock Part 3 would just be a desperate attempt to try to put it on the same level of The Rock versus Stone Cold Steve Austin from WrestleMania's 15, WrestleMania 17, and again at WrestleMania 19. The matches between The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin, just as a random statistic here for you, happened 2 years apart from each other, with their final encounter being at WrestleMania 19, which was just a lead up to The Rock versus Goldberg the following month at that year's Backlash pay-per-view, which happened in 2003, which, by the way, I saw the other day in its entirety. What a great match that was, getting the chance to relive that the other day and take a look back at how much The Rock and Goldberg's match contributed to the history of the WWE was just an incredible opportunity. You can actually see that match in its entirety in our videos form in our imagery section of our website. All you gotta do is click on Imagery Center. But I mean, The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin have had so many legendary matches at WrestleMania. How can you even describe The Rock and John Cena's two previous encounters on that same level, or even put it in the same category of Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock? The answer to that question is you just can't. I'd much rather see The Rock and John Cena have separate opponents at WrestleMania. The first match was so good, there really wasn't no need of having a second match just to have John Cena even the score of one match apiece. And there still are those occasional wrestling fans that believe we'll see a third encounter to determine who is the undisputed best and greatest of all time, who is the undisputed WWE champion. But I think we can shut that idea out, because there are so many other potential main events that we could see come to fruition over the next 3 to 4 months. We're just a few months away from WrestleMania 30. That's what it comes down to, and we wouldn't have as much time to promote John Cena versus The Rock. We'd have probably just as much time as we had to promote WrestleMania 29's main event. And I think because of the limited amount of time that we had to promote the WrestleMania 29 match between The Rock and John Cena, that's what contributed to this match not being as impressive as the first one. Also, The Rock knowing that he was going to lose. The Rock wasn't as enthusiastic about the match. He was missing Raws prior to the match at WrestleMania 29. And that's probably what would be happening if The Rock and John Cena were going to wrestle a third time. The Rock would be missing Raws. He'd have it guaranteed. He'd probably be a little bit more enthusiastic than he was last year at WrestleMania 29. But we know The Rock would win, so The Rock probably would be missing Raws, and he'd just come in and defeat John Cena and probably hold the title 4 to 5 months and then go again. He's kind of on a come-and-go-again basis with WWE. That's what's been noticeable about The Rock. He's currently filming Fast and Furious 7 right now, so obviously he will be back to promote that. He's on the cover of WWE 2K14, and I think a far more effective way of promoting him being on the cover of a video game and Fast and Furious 7, even the occasional pop for his Facebook and Twitter, would be to have him face a new talented superstar like Alberto Del Rio, Dolph Ziggler, or someone like Dave Bautista or Brock Lesnar. It's been 11 and 12 years since we have seen The Rock and Brock Lesnar have a match. The last time they wrestled, the only time in history, was at SummerSlam back in 2002, 11, 12 years ago. I think that would be a far more effective way of promoting WrestleMania than seeing history repeat itself again, not just with The Rock and John Cena, but with matches like Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock, The Undertaker, Triple H, Mr. T, and Roddy Piper's history at WrestleManias 1 through 2. Over at least the last 21 through 25 years, history has repeated itself more than enough, and I think it's time to get on with something new. Give us a bit of a reprieve as wrestling fans. And speaking from the point of view of a wrestling fan, I wouldn't blame you if you said in the comments of this week's video distribution that you're tired of seeing The Rock and John Cena's match. Give me something creative in the way of a hashtag too, by the way. I love creative hashtags about John Cena and The Rock being one of the most discussed matches for WrestleMania 30. When you talk about dream matches just last year, we talked about WrestleMania 29 and the possibility of seeing John Cena versus The Rock, CM Punk versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, and we're talking about the same thing again in the way of dream matches, a few different dream matches thrown your way this year for our WrestleMania 30 Fantasy Matchup Series, but I really don't want to see this match. It's not my choice of a story path for WrestleMania 30. The Rock versus The Undertaker, where The Rock defeats The Undertaker at WrestleMania, would be a preferable story path for WWE to have for WrestleMania 30, and even that match we're probably a long way away from seeing. But let me know what you think of it in the comments of this video. Let me know what you think of it on Twitter at JonathanClarke1, and if you like this video distribution, subscribe to us on YouTube and leave us some comments on what you think could possibly happen at WrestleMania 30. If not John Cena versus The Rock, throw something else our way, because anything will be better than seeing history repeat itself for the third year at WrestleMania in a row. For Christ's sake, we need a bit of a reprieve. Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube is how you can get in touch with me. I've got some music lined up for you on the way next. You'll hear from Miley Cyrus and Wrecking Ball. It's her latest compilation. And I said last week here on the show, it's one of her best. If you have not seen the music video for it, go to our Facebook and Twitter. You will say to yourself, wow, what an impressive music video from Miley Cyrus. It's probably just as impressive as the Britney Spears one that I talked about here earlier on in the show. Miley's music as of late has been very impressive, and it's one of her best compilations yet. I'll have it for you after the break. Rock, John Cena, WrestleMania 30. Who would win this match? And what it comes down to is we're a couple of months away from WrestleMania 30. Do you really want to see it happen at an event as prestigious as the 30th year that we'll be celebrating the biggest sports entertainment spectacle of all time? What it comes down to is, do you really want to go as far as seeing this for the third year in a row? It's bad enough it's happening for the third time at WrestleMania. And to make matters worse, it's happening for the third year in a row.